And for more on this, we're now being joined by Alex Treman, who is the CEO and Jerusalem Bureau Chief of Jewish News Syndicate. He is joining us live from Jerusalem. Welcome to the broadcast.
Good morning.
Well, first of all, let's discuss what's happening right now. Israel has said that it has agreed to the bilateral ceasefire with Iran. First of all, your sentiments and what have you been able to observe in Israel after Trump's announcement, and how are the Israelis reacting to this ceasefire?
As far as Israel is concerned, it has just won the 12-day war. Israel has succeeded to take out Iran's nuclear program that was an existential threat to Israel. It has managed to take out the ballistic missile program, which was a second existential threat to Israel. And more importantly, it has filed down the entirety of Iran's terror proxy network around Israel, which includes Hezbollah, includes the Houthis, includes Hamas. So Israel believes that it has now essentially eliminated this terror threat against Israel and hopefully can now usher in an era of peace with new normalization agreements with Saudi Arabia and other countries in the region.
All right. Well, that being said, the nuclear program, let's talk about it. U.S. Vice President Vance says Iran is now incapable of building a nuclear weapon. But if you look at the assessment so far, as of now, battle damage assessment from the Israeli side and the Pentagon side is still not completed. That being said, since we don't know the damage assessment yet, are we somehow underestimating the potential of a nuclear program, or are we really, we are clear that the damage has been really great?
Well, we still need final confirmation on the extent of the damage, but 14 MOP, massive ordnance penetrating bombs dropped on the facility doesn't really leave too much room for hope that that facility is still standing. Certainly the possibility exists that Iran could have already developed some kind of a weapon or acquired a weapon, whether from another country, Pakistan, China, North Korea, or elsewhere, that it could deliver. But their ability to produce nuclear weapons, and specifically to produce large numbers of nuclear weapons, has been definitely eliminated.
Absolutely. And that being said, of course, the next step perhaps could be a negotiation, perhaps getting Iran on the table with the U.S. For these nuclear talks. What kind of role do you think Israel would be playing at that point?
Well, I think it's important now for the United States and the International Atomic Energy Agency to do what they do best and to go in and to get the full assessments of the damage that's been leveled at these nuclear facilities. I think for Israel, as long as the threat to the home front has been eliminated, that Israel doesn't need to play a future role in determining the extent of the damage or figuring out what Iran's nuclear obligations need to be moving forward.
And that being said, the Reim Enrichment has been one of the things that Iran has been adamant on. So do you think that negotiations would curtail to these? And although some opinions have been that Iran's capability of producing any kind of nuclear energy had to be demolished. And do you think that could perhaps be in this negotiation table?
I'm fairly certain that the United States under President Trump is not going to allow Iran to enrich any uranium inside their borders. The question of whether some amount of enriched uranium up to, let's say, 3% could be delivered or acquired to Iran, as long as that uranium cannot be enriched forward. Furthermore, I think that that might be possible, but at this point, I don't think Iran has too much leverage.
All right, and also the Israeli government did state that they have achieved all the objectives. Could you expand on what are these objectives that Israel has said that they have fulfilled?
Yeah, sure. Israel came into the war saying that they had two major objectives. The first was to make sure that Iran was no longer a nuclear power or was able to develop nuclear weapons that could threaten Israel. The second is the ballistic missile threat, and specifically the production of ballistic missiles. Iran had undertaken to develop 300 ballistic missiles per month, which would have given them tens of thousands of missiles in years if this production wasn't ceased. Israel has struck at the missile launchers, the missile stockpiles, and also the missile production facilities. These were the two major threats. The third major threat that Israel undertook to file down was the terror proxy threat, and Israel has been doing that over the last 600 days, which includes Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. And the fourth not specifically stated goal, but an alluded to goal, which was that of regime change, is one that is still remains to be seen whether that will happen. Certainly the Iranian regime has been utterly humiliated here, and the Iranian people now have a golden opportunity, maybe a once-in-a-generation opportunity, to overthrow their regime and to take their country back from this repressive Islamic Republic.
And regime change, of course, this has been a recurrent topic throughout the conflict, and Israel, as you said, and U.S. have both said that it is a welcome change. Now, Iran politics being complicated, could you also help us understand if a regime change would guarantee no nuclear aspirations in Iran?
Well, there's no guarantees in Iran, and certainly all the opposition groups are splintered, and nobody really knows who could be the candidate to take over. There are some thoughts that perhaps the Crown Prince of Iran, the son of the former Shah, Reza Pahlavi, could be a transitional figure. Not clear whether he would have the power or the backing to rule Iran on a long-term basis. But certainly the idea that the Iranian people should get to vote and decide for themselves who will be a new leader, but it will really be up to the Iranian people now to take the work that Israel's done, the work that America has done, which includes attacks on the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps facilities and the besieged facilities, to now rise up and to take back their country if they so choose to do so.
And how would you analyze the role of U.S. in this whole escapade?
Well, I don't believe that Israel would have been able to launch the campaign at all without the provision of weapons to Israel. You know, Israel had been fighting a war for 600 days. A lot of their munitions were heavily depleted, including some of the missile defense systems that it had also depleted. So the United States, under President Trump, when he came into office, released many shipments of weapons to Israel that it used in these campaigns, and certainly their ability to take out the nuclear facility at Fordo using weapons that Israel simply just doesn't have, nor the delivery mechanisms that anybody else would need to deliver those bombs. So certainly I think that their backing gave legitimacy to the operation, and their coming in, I think, made the situation much more desperate for Iran to negotiate a ceasefire.
All right. Well, now that Israel has said that their goals have been fulfilled, is there any kind of talks happen between Iran and the U.S.? Again, what kind of role do you think Israel will be playing at that point?
Well, Israel certainly is going to want to have guarantees from the United States, similar to the guarantees that Israel has from the United States with regard to the ceasefire that it declared with Hezbollah in Lebanon. While there's a ceasefire, still Israel reserves the right to strike at Hezbollah movements inside Iran. Inside southern Lebanon, and they continue to do so even to this day. Even during these last 12 days, Israel has struck at strategic sites inside Lebanon with the permission of the United States. So I do believe that even though there will be a ceasefire, if Israel sees that Iran is moving towards firing ballistic missiles, producing more ballistic missiles, or enriching uranium, or moving towards the development of some kind of a crude nuclear bomb or more sophisticated nuclear bomb, that Israel is going to reserve the right to act against Iran at that point.
All right. Well, of course, we'll be looking at how this all falls out. At least from the Israel side, they have agreed to this whole ceasefire. We'll yet to see how Iran reacts to this. But thank you so much for joining on the show and giving your perspective.
Thanks for having me.